Om Devaji Sheshnag Yoga Center. What on earth is Kundalini? This video is about enlightenment is overrated and the relationship side of things. Upon awakening my Kundalini, I moved to Tasmania to understand the epic situation of the experience. Within a few months, a lady fell in love with me. Next thing, the novelty wore off. I was the black sheep of the family. Even though we got married and the relationship lasted the best part of 3 years, I was ousted because she couldn't handle me and had to filter and manage me in a social environment because of her own fear of judgment. Next thing, I pack up shop, leave the area, but I bought land and property in Tasmania. So I hold on to that, pay it off, then someone else falls in love with me. Isis. She was beautiful, man, innocent. We were both immature, emotionally, a bit broken physically. But anyway, I put it all into that marriage and we had a great period of time. During that marriage there was a bit of grief. I used to get up every day when I wasn't working, look after the kids, because Isis would sleep in. She'd also stay up late at night, didn't come to bed at the same time, so there was not really much intimacy or physical participation, let's say, or interaction. And that's where sometimes a man needs to feel like a man and feel loved and embraced, as well as a woman. But like I said, immature emotionally. I had all these concerns. I don't know whether it was to do with drug addiction of marijuana, or whether it was to do with overworking, or whether it was to do with the Kundalini energy. But I had this huge sexual drive and not coming to bed at the same time, sleeping in when I was getting up, had no time for sexual expression. So I discussed all my concerns because I know there's a great being. I know that if I lie there's going to be bad karma. So I like to discuss everything. So I discussed everything and my concerns with Isis, and we came to some conclusions during the communication and conversations that I had regarding my concerns about the sexual expression. It was never emotional on my part, but I went and expressed my sexual energy outside of the marriage, which was not deceitful because I discussed it and there was conclusions made where there was agreements that if I couldn't have it at home, I'd go to the neighbour's well. Not that I wanted to go there permanently because it wasn't emotional. It was more like a sexual outlet. Maybe it was the Kundalini, who knows. During the interaction, she also said, since you owned your land outright, I won't take you for the land if we ever split up. Far out, man. We have 2 children, beautiful children. As soon as the shit hit the fan in the relationship, like I tried to stay in it, I tried to introduce concepts where we could function in a harmonious environment, how we could overcome our issues, where we could go to counsel and work things out. Next thing, because of the emotional immaturity, there was anger. One day when I was taking my daughter down to the local sporting centre, broke my back. This was when we were going through the not real intimate experience and we were sort of not deciding whether we wanted to be together or not. Every time I jumped in the same bed as her, there was no emotional anything, interaction or anything. So next thing, I broke my back after I came back from India. Oh, it was crazy. Went and stayed with my best mate Brock for 3 months. During the recovery, during that time, Isis moved out with the children. Oh, fuck. I moved back after my broken back. We're not getting back together because she's already emotionally departed through no fault of my own. But also it was inevitable. The house is void of the kids. void of most previously shared possessions. Everything we accumulated while we were together for 8 years disappeared. I come back with a semi-healed broken back. During the time I was healing, I meet Smiley for another relationship because I need some company. Smiley was awesome, and for the best part of 6 months, we had a fantastic interaction. I was adamant that I didn't want a relationship because of my very recent separation from a beautiful wife in the form of Isis. Smiley and I got emotionally attached. There was no hope of me getting back with Isis, and she became angry, and angrier. Then I was honest with Smiley about everything to do with my sexual expression and how I wasn't into a relationship because energetically and emotionally I couldn't cope with it. I didn't want to bind myself to another person because I'd been betrayed through the word and my communication and open, honest disclosure with Isis. Then, ultimately, through my own actions and sexual expression outside of the interaction with Smiley, I fell in love with Smiley, and one day I told her. She misinterpreted the story, went off and decided to do what I did. Next thing, it's crazy, man. The pain was so insane there because we were so compatible and so mature emotionally. We ended up going into a relationship through trauma. Oh, God help me. That was hell as well because I wasn't emotionally ready for it and it felt like it was forced upon me. So then we split up after a very messy experience that ensued after the 6 months of bliss. During that time, Isis is still angry with me. I'm struggling to get my children back. I'm trying to get spoon-fed some sort of semblance of kids into my life, and we're talking about a father, mate, got up every day when he wasn't working, looked after the kids, gave them breakfast. He's been there every day in their life. I even took 3 years off of my work so I could hang out with my children and Isis before they went to school, because that time is very precious and valuable. As soon as they went to school, I returned back to work and got on with things. But before they went to school, I thought it was awesome that me being a father, her being the mother, we could hang out with our children, maybe go on the welfare system and jump through the hoops to maintain the lifestyle required to be on the welfare system. But during the time following our separation, it's like everything was turned around. I get seen as this dirty, cheating bastard. I get seen as this really poor dad who never had a part in the kid's life. I tell you, mate, I had the hugest part in my kid's life. All I ever want to be is a good dad. Next thing, they're taken away from me. After I split up with Smiley, Isis and I formed some agreement to do with settlement. She doesn't take me for as much as she could have because she could have taken me for 70% of everything. She only took me for every cent that we made during the 8 years we were together and every cent of equity that I paid off into the property between the time of separation and the time of settlement. How insane is that? Then I have to fight back to get my kids into my household, and I'm not even talking, I've never asked for anything more than 50%. Next thing I'm getting 35%. I'm thinking, and people are saying to me, you should be lucky, you should be considering yourself lucky you got 35%. I'm thinking, what the fuck is going on? I'm half of the interaction, why can't I at least just have 50? I've never asked for anything other than 50%. So following that pain, I'm sitting here going, I know I'm born in the image of the Creator. I know that I'm of the Naga tribe. I know that there's 2 serpents that are so serious in the spiritual development of the human being One is the Kundalini, one is the Sheshnag. So once you awaken your Kundalini, you get in touch with Sheshnag and you're the creator of almost anything at will. So then I sit there and go, well, I don't want to experience that sort of pain again. I meet a girl, she's beautiful, incompatible to me, but beautiful in her own right. I said, Gaia, we can't be in a relationship in the sense of an intimate, monogamous one. We can be the best of mates, but I personally know it's about validation. I'm going to create one person and one person alone to come into my life who's going to validate everything I hold to be true. I said I've written a list on the 10th of February 2015. She's going to turn up in the next 5 years. When she does, I'm going to have the love of my life. Gaia says, okay, well, we'll just hang out, see how it goes. She's pretty cool, pretty easy going. The only person that I've ever met in my whole life that, because I've put up boundaries to do with no mine and no yours, there's no imposition of the identity or the self onto the other person. So subsequently, there's no expectations of how that person should act. So Gaia is the only person that I've ever had in my life that has not managed me and filtered me. It's awesome because she's a friend, and my best friend at that. So next thing, 1 year and 1 day to the day that I wrote the list, the 11th of February 2016, Shakti walks into my life. She's driven 17,000 kilometres to get there. The divine will in her life is doing everything it can to point out how obvious this creation and this attraction and this scenario is, and how it's aligned for her to surrender herself to the divine will and align herself with the will of whatever you want to call it, the spiritual cataclysm that's happening on the planet, the spiritual flip. Come into Sheshnag, she's got all the capabilities, she's got everything on the list. I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't know how I'm born in the image of the Creator. Or actually I do, after 18 years of research. But knowing that doesn't really help, because I'm sensitive as anything, I'm empathic as anything, I have faith in the divine. People have shredded me to no extent because everything I've said sort of seems to be honest, because I try to maintain not bad karma by telling the truth and being open and honest. Next thing, I'm deceived by, it's totally just, the deception and my lack of respect, the faith that I put in other people. Somehow I've got to experience that. But anyway, Shakti rocks into my life. It's a totally awesome experience. We have the most beautiful love and the most intense, phenomenal experience of where twin flames come together. I never believe in the twin flame story, but this one proved that it exists. We got up to stage 4 out of 7. It was at the time where she had to surrender. What happened? She didn't want to go into her heart and give up herself, which is understandable because the self-identity and the ego is the hardest thing to ever give up. She don't want to transmute it into love for the divine that she never believed in. Next thing, I put all my faith into a person that I attracted into my life through this concept of being born in the image of the Creator and knowing I'm a God incarnate, and I understand the staff of Hermes Trismegistus, why the God in Egypt is called Thoth. Oh my God, it's a totally divine experience, totally coordinated with alignment of everything that I'm into, especially Sheshnag, and she fits into it like a hand in a glove. Perfect. Next thing, she pulls the pin. I'm sitting there going, Apparently it's all projected back onto me that I'm some control freak. I'm sitting here saying that all I want to do is serve the divine and be humble in my representation of that divinity. I understand how I'm born in the image of the Creator according to the Sanskrit philosophy. My whole life's dedicated to the Sanskrit alphabet. I want to build a temple dedicated to it. I want to build a museum and library dedicated to it. All I want to do is serve the great being with humility and great servitude, bowing down to it, because I can't believe that it has the ability to create and coordinate all the experiences in life that are so perfectly just. Mind you, being this sensitive and empathic, it's crazy, mate. Rips my heart to shreds. Now I'm sitting here, after Shakti walked out, Guy is gone because of whatever reason. She's still a good friend, but that connection won't ever be there because she's incompatible. I'm sitting here saying, I don't know whether I should wait for someone compatible. I've got a friend in America says you should wait for someone compatible because you this sensitive little soul that wants to embrace everyone, but you keep it protected because you've got this harsh exterior to protect your own vulnerability on a spiritual level. I'm sitting here going, I don't even know, mate. I'm under 45. Under 45-year-old males, the highest cause of death is suicide. If I did think it was real, I wouldn't even be here talking on this video. I'd be dead because I would have clocked out. But there's something in me that allows me to know it's not real through the experience of awakening my Kundalini. I don't know if it's worth it. I think it's overrated. I have this perception where I can tap into this dimension beyond time and space, read people's thoughts, say exactly what they're thinking. Mate, work doesn't seem to work out. Relationships don't seem to work out. I've paid for my property 2 or 3 times over because of the faith I've put in people that aren't aligned with the same spiritual understanding as I have. I don't know what's going on. It's so sad. It breaks my heart. I'm just trying to stay alive and survive and teach the knowledge and pass it on. I have this phenomenal knowledge that has to do with physiology and psychology of the yogic phenomena. When you end up in the divine after you lose the self, I can correlate all philosophies and religions on the planet. But what good is it when you struggle to survive and people manage and filter me like nothing else? I just want to be myself. How can I be myself if people that I'm with are so scared of how they'll be judged when I'm with them? I can't believe it. Then my kids get taken off me. I've got to fight to get those back. How inhumane is that? I don't even want anything but fairness. But my ambition for fairness is grandiose, to say the least. My ambition to have faith in people. I'm thinking, I dance around in the bliss of unity most of the time when I'm tired. When I'm strung out financially, I don't even know what's going on. I've got a goal to write a 5th book. I've got a goal to build my temple. The obligations of being an awesome father to these kids that have chosen me to be their guardian. I just find it so insane. What can I do about it? I don't know. Anyway, that's enough on relationships. Now I'm sitting here saying I don't want to compromise. I'm also so scared that I don't actually want to enter into a relationship again because I've so lost faith in people. Have faith in the divine. Don't have faith in anyone. It's unbelievable. Anyway, I'll just keep going. Thanks to my brother punching me in the head most days, I'll keep getting up and I'll stay determined on the path. As crazy as it is. My best mate clocked out because he was enlightened, but he was too spiritual. I'm trying to keep a foot in this plane because the brave with his head in the clouds is no earthly good. I just try and function and put most of my energy into trying to be able to relate to the people in this capitalistic culture. Sometimes I want to run away, but that's not going to do any good for my kids who are going to be the future of the world, in the sense of the next generation's going to need the right knowledge. The right knowledge has to do with the universal connectivity of the human framework, the spiritual potential innate within awakening the Kundalini, how you become a God manifest, and you can manifest at will. How exactly does that benefit anyone? If you're as sensitive as anything and people seem to not even care what you say, then they want to filter and manage you because you're so self-aware that the people they're hanging out with are threatened by you. Then their own insecurities are judged, because when people judge me according to their love or their choice of me as a partner, I think, I don't know if it's worth it. Sometimes, no, I don't really. Sometimes it might be better to be ignorant. Oh, who knows? But that's my relationship video on how enlightenment's overrated. Me being human and saying it's awesome, but shit. What on earth is Kundalini? If you awaken it, hopefully it's blissful. Don't get me wrong, it's underlying everything. There's a bliss that you can't ever get rid of. And if you haven't been able to perceive that bliss, then you haven't fully awakened it, because that is the underlying reality of all life, that bliss. Knowing that still doesn't make for a painless experience in the human form. Om Namah Shivaya. Salutations to the Great Being and its ability to coordinate everything. Maybe I'll just relax and bring it into my heart, calm down, trust my intuition, see how that goes. Sheshnag Sanskrit School. What on earth is Kundalini? Be careful. Om Namah Shivaya. And if you're a father feeling the pain, man, good luck to you. Hopefully see it as not real, but I've had to fight and stay alive, and it's been terribly painful. And I feel for all the males out there, I feel for all the females out there, anyone that's been extorted or exploited by their ex to do with blaming you and then manipulating you through your property and your children, which are illusory states of identification, don't get me wrong, but you couldn't have two things that are closer to your heart than your property and your children, and that's why they manipulate you through them, because that's what's easy enough to create pain for you. Oh, there you go. Om Namah Shivaya. Sheshnag.com. Om Devaji. Peace.